Start recording it now. And I'll get...
This is the first time I'm doing this, so.
Change presenter.
I think
if you all have
when you start sharing his screen.
Okay.
Okay, Thomas, I gave you presentation.
Yes, I got it.
Okay.
So everybody should be able to see my the Hummingbird meeting slides now, right?
Yes, I can see it.
Yes.
Okay, good. So I think we're in good shape. I should be able to pass the presentation rights around as needed.
Okay, and I will be back shortly.
Okay, sounds great.
Thanks.
Okay, so hi everybody. This is the second session of the Hummingbird planning meeting. So we're going to go through a couple of initial slides. The overall goals for this session is to review both the overall community plans, which includes clearly ON.Lab, for the Hummingbird release, and also get some visibility into the following I release. The Hummingbird release is slated for August 2016, the end of it, and the I release is then for end of November 2016. And so the whole idea of this planning meeting is to help make sure that we provide a nice and transparent view of what our plans are, and help people interested in working on various projects to connect with not only just the ON.Lab team but also with each other. We also need to be able to plan for dependencies between the various features and use cases. We need to be able to understand what the load is to be able to integrate these things together, and so that everybody is on the same page, so that we can come up with proper sequence of steps to have a nice and coherent release. And then the idea of the release planning meeting is to provide a background theme and a context for planning of individual sprints. Speaking of the sprints, the following is the schedule for Hummingbird release in terms of the sprints. We're going to run 2 3-week sprints, followed by 2 2-week sprints to do integration and to work through the RC process. There may be slight revisions at the tail end of this with respect to when we're going to be cutting the Hummingbird branch and the release process. Because of the increased turnover now in terms of more contributors and more features being worked on, with GoldenEye, we've actually cut the release branch earlier than we normally do, as not to stall development of features on the main master. So the final release is expected around the first week of September. Any questions on this? If not, then there will be some slides in here that we may not have speakers to, because they were covered in the morning sessions. I presume Matteo is not online since it's really late for Europe. So we're going to skip through this. I'm just going to briefly outline that the Icona is a project which deals with peering federation. It still continues to be worked on by CreateNet, Polytechnico of Turin, and Tata Consultancy Services. And then, if you want more detail on this project, you can watch the recording from the morning session. In terms of MCord, is there somebody to speak to MCord?
Yeah, I'm here, Thomas. This is Sandhya Narayan from Verizon. I think Tom Tufay of AT&T put this together. This just describes the work that's going on in the MCord project at this time. And one of the main areas of work is network slicing, especially RAN slicing. And another area of work that has been taken up is to come up with the MCord Lite version. And we are working through what is the hardware and how do we get the different software components into it. Then other things here summarized is the MCord Rack 2 work that is going on, which is dealing with connectionless protocol.
Okay.
So these are just putting things in that are in progress, and not really tasks for ONOS listed here. There were some ONOS related tasks. I think Murat of Argera will cover that later.
Okay, thank you. So pardon the things being a little bit out of order, but this is the order that we observed in the morning session. So one of the this slide right here depicts some of the major architectural runway items which are sort of intended to be used as a sort of like a course context for planning of the individual areas. The primary focus is on the first three items for the Hummingbird, is to be able to complete or at least move further along the Yang utilities to be able to facilitate southbound and northbound APIs via Yang. And virtual network service is going to continue investment there, and I will talk more about it later. Also, we want to resurrect the intent service or intent domains, and Brian will talk about this. And then in order to facilitate enrolling off-platform applications, we will be working on gRPC and Kafka, and Madan will talk about this. So these are the major sort of pivotal themes, and they will be covered in more detail in slides down below. So I think with one of those first ones being Yang, I'm going to ask Patrick to cover this. Is Patrick there?
He's not here.
Patrick is not here. Not available.
Okay. All right. So I think the details were covered in the morning session. I'm just going to really quickly summarize. The idea here is to enable generating of codecs for consuming and producing XML for netconf interaction, as well as JSON codecs for northbound interactions with external applications. And there will be additional Yang utility enhancements for be able to support applications external applications interacting with northbound services.
Wow, so I was totally baffled by that. So, you know, talking about netcon interaction with devices, that sounds like southbound, not northbound.
Yes. Did I say northbound for interaction with devices? If so, I misspoke.
Well, the first item is Yang-enabled northbound APIs, and that seems like a really bizarre feature that I can't imagine you'd ever want, so I'm puzzled by it.
Where do you read that?
Under architectural runway items.
So people want to use netconf for both talking to devices, and people also want to be able to use netconf for their service models. So they want to model their application services in Yang and then use the netconf as a northbound protocol for configuring their ONOS apps and services.
Yes, so to clarify, Bob, so yes, the Yang and netconf is specifically for southbound. There's also ability to prescribe via Yang sort of network-centric service level interactions with ONOS as a platform for off-platform applications, and this is the northbound, in its northbound capacity, we're going to be using Yang. For example, using the ONOS platform to configure L3 VPN services using the L3 VPN Yang model. That's sort of the idea. Okay. So perhaps one of the previous slide was not had some typo in it.
I think Brian explained it more or less.
Okay. Okay. For the network virtualization, the proposed deliverables for Hummingbird is a draft document which describes the current design and approach, which is something people, including yourself, Bob, have been requesting. And also using that document, the idea would be to solicit feedback and input from community on the existing design and approach. And this would basically just be used to augment the existing feedback and discussions that we've had in prior to TST meetings that were concerned with this subject. And the idea here is to continue development of the intent-based implementation of the virtual network provider, and then work with partners to explore alternate virtual network providers. And this is where we would also like community to help us. Currently, CNI is leading the majority of the coding effort with our guidance. If there's no questions on this one, we can probably move down the line. Brian?
Yep. So this slide is primarily about the intent domain subsystem. For the Hummingbird timeframe, we'll be working to produce some documentation describing what intent domain means and what sort of our general approach is going to be. We'd also like to solicit some feedback from the community on this design draft, as well as some of the use cases that are interested in leveraging intent domains. And then we'll continue to incubate the intent domain API, specifically the service interfaces and some of the domain primitives as part of the Hummingbird release. The goal would be that for the I release, the rubber hits the road. We'll hopefully have an implementation of the framework. We'll have an intent southbound to facilitate hierarchical or federated control at the intent level, and hopefully support for at least one of the domain controllers. And it would be great if people interested in this topic or have use cases that want to leverage the topic provide feedback and input, and if there's interest in helping with the implementation or the prototyping, that would be welcome as well.
Great, thank you. Madan, do you want to cover the core?
Sure. Can you go to that slide, Thomas?
Yeah, sorry, it's there's a lag with GoToMeeting.
Oh, okay.
Did it switch yet?
Yeah, not yet, but I have the slide deck open, so I can actually speak with that. So, so the main theme for both H and I releases is going to be better support for off-platform applications, and also support for in-service upgrades. So these are things that Thomas mentioned in his sort of priority slide. So as part of H release, one thing that we would like to be as part of that is Kafka integration. This is something that is being driven in collaboration with Calyx, and this will provide an asynchronous interaction for off-platform applications, and it also provides the necessary scalability so that we can run as many off-platform applications as we can. The gRPC integration part provides support for synchronous interaction with different on-platform applications that are running on the ONOS cluster, and we plan to tackle at least one half of this as part of H release. And I see that we will have this work overflow into I, and that is where we want to actually have gRPC support available publicly. And again, as part of I release, we will look into tackling the problem of supporting rolling in-service upgrades, where you can run multiple versions of ONOS side by side, as long as backwards compatibility is maintained. And finally, I have also included an area where we could do more work as part of I, which is providing support for debugging and sort of tracing a running system, mostly from an operational standpoint. So I've listed a few areas where community folks, anyone with relevant experience and time can step in and help. Again, anyone who has done gRPC related work earlier in their previous roles or in their previous projects, we welcome that experience. So for Supporting portable serialization, right now we use Cryo through our core interactions, and that is an interesting area where someone can step in and see how we can ensure portability across different software versions. And another area where we can't do enough work is stress testing and doing all the performance related testing for distributed core. I would like to highlight some of the work that Murat and his team has done, where they were able to run some testing to see how big a topology they can support on a single instance ONOS. They were able to identify some bottlenecks in the link store, which they were able to fix. So that is the type of work that I'm talking about here. And we have had few people ask about running 2-instance ONOS. This is not something that we can do today. Just to clarify, we can actually run 2-instance ONOS, just that it will not be a highly available cluster, in the sense that if one of those instances is down, we can't really do any critical work on the other one. So what I mean by 2-instance ONOS is where you run this in an active backup mode, where if the active fails, the backup can take over and still maintain all the necessary functionality. So if anyone wants to tackle this and has the time and the need to do it, feel free to step in and take this project. And finally, this is something that I added just recently. Consistent Map has a few APIs which provide access to the entire map contents, and especially as the size of the map grows, and especially when the maps are partitioned across different storage partitions, these operations tend to get expensive. Yet at the same time, they're used heavily throughout the code base. So this is something that we would like to optimize and provide some sort of streaming support for a consistent map. Again, if anyone wants to tackle this problem, it's quite challenging. So if you're looking for a challenge, this is something that you can take up. So
okay. Thank you, Madan.
Yeah.
I switched slides right now, and it's moving to your territory, Brian, which has the overlap with the previous slide. I don't know how much you can cover that.
Both the core work and the Northbound interface work will both rely on some gRPC availability. From an application or Northbound perspective, the interest here is enabling in-service upgrades of off-platform applications, and also allowing some degree of latitude for Northbound versioning. Right now, the versions have to match up pretty precisely for off-platform and on-platform applications. For the REST API and the Java APIs that we have available. So hopefully for Hummingbird, we'll be able to take advantage of gRPC for those apps that are off-platform. For the I-release, the interest is moving or improving the mechanisms for off-platform application registration and access control, as well as considering the use of auto-generated objects like the gRPC objects for our service APIs. So where we can have help in the community is it would be great if there are some people that want to run off-platform applications with higher performance APIs, the gRPC APIs, and if there's someone who wants to help clean up the interaction applications go through when they register.
Okay. Hey, Brian, I have some noise here with the neighbors. Do you think you'll be able to take over the guidance from now on?
Sure, or Sandhya can do that.
Yeah, I can do that, but I don't have control to go to them.
I can do it. Come back.
Or Bill can do it.
Yeah, you can drive the slides then? Okay.
Yeah,
so I'm going to make you, can I make you a presenter, because I'll need to mute myself?
Yes, you can make me presenter. Yep.
Okay, so Bill will drive forward.
It never fails. There's always an external noise somehow at most opportune times. Did the presenter rights go to you yet?
No, but I'm going to take them.
Good, please. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, so is this a slide that is next? Is show with the resource service?
Hi.
for Hummingbird is the performance I'm keep working on the performance improvement, and to performance improvement correctly measured the micro benchmarking is important thing. So I'm building micro benchmarking for the typical workload for the service by using JMH framework, which is OpenJDK micro benchmark framework. And through the performance improvement refactoring, test coverage is important to make the refactoring safe. So I need to improve the test coverage because the test coverage currently is not so good. And also I'm planning some minor API semantic change to make Cora size burden Cora size to reduce Cora size burden less. For iRelease, I don't have specific items right now, but if we have a performance issue here, I'm working on that. And for community help, continuous integration like continuous metric correct engagement and some like a dashboard page is an important aspect of the to prevent resource performance regression in the future. That's all my side.
Okay, thank you, Sho. Simon.
Yeah, hi, this is Simon. And for the Hummingbird and iRelease deliverables, we're basically going to get back on track to complete the UI server-side modeling of the topology view. Basically, this is to address the scalability issue and also, the scalability issue of large networks and taking into consideration the subdivisions of networks into regions. And then also we are aware that we need to make this modeling extensible so that application developers can include in their topology overlay additional levels of detail in terms of what nodes or devices are connected. So, for example, the PON technology with optical network terminators and the relationship to the items that they connect to. In terms of community help, there are a number of bug bounties that have been tagged and are available, which would be great if someone with time and interest would like to pick those up. That'd be great. And also, we have a large number of applications. In the applications view, there is opportunity to include a short description, a custom icon, and a URL link to documentation. Bill, if you'd like to go to the next slide, this is a screenshot of the.
Sorry.
That's okay. This is a screenshot of the current application view. And as you'll notice, most of the applications have a default icon. They all point to the same URL, and they just have a description that is based on the title. If you were to pop to the next slide, you could see what is possible by creating a custom icon and more descriptive text of the application to give users of the product more information about what it is that they can install. So we will be upgrading the icon design guidance that we're putting together in terms of helping people to stick to the color palette that our graphic designer has come up with. So that should be coming out real soon. That's about it.
Excellent. Thank you, Simon.
Sure.
Probably Luca is not online. It's a little late there, so if somebody wants to hear Luca talk about his slides, you can watch the recording that we have from this morning. Okay, Brian, developer experience.
Great. So what this project is about is it's more of a loose collection of improvements that are targeted at improving the development experience on the platform and the developer onboarding to the platform. So for Hummingbird, our plan is to complete the transition from the Maven build to Buck, including the deprecation of Maven for the ONOS core. We'd like to improve the standalone multi-instance development environment for ONOS. That's work that Bob has been driving forward for the past couple of releases. We'd like to automate the verification of our releases, and this is going to drive us towards more regular minor releases that are sort of fill-ins between our major releases. These sort of stable snapshots are going to enable off-platform developers that are building on-platform applications to have more regular checkpoints so they don't have to build against moving master. This has been a request from teams like Cord and others. We'd like to improve some documentation for the sort of module or subsystem level. Right now we have a lot of good Java doc at the API level, and we have some overview documentations, but the documentation at the module and subsystem level has definitely been lacking. We'd also like to fix ONOS packaging to enable it to work offline, and also reevaluate the defaults and other sort of things we load up in Craft. There's some stuff that doesn't need to be done that's done. Looking forward towards the I release, we'd like to improve both application dependency and application versioning mechanisms. See if we can enable community access to some of the distributed ONOS testbeds, improve the ONOS out-of-the-box experience for both single instance and cluster, try to address some enhancements to the ONOS development CLI. Ali and others have a lot of ideas about that, and also continue to drive improvements in ONOS startup time. So as I said before, this is kind of a loose collection of improvements. Help on any and all fronts is possible, and I will not be doing all of these things, but I'm sort of largely going to be tracking the overall progress of these improvements. So if you have interest in these areas or others that largely fall under development experience.
So Brian, you mentioned a little bit about developer documentation. Is there an overall documentation plan for Hummingbird? Is it on one of these slides? Like, because we've been talking in the sort of documentation sort of chats and on the ONOS docs mailing list and ONOS dev as well about sort of the need to, or the desire and really need for integrating documentation as part of this sort of documentation plan, and trying to actually move the documentation forward. Is this going to happen for Hummingbird, or will it be deferred until later?
So we don't currently have a slide on it, and we don't currently have an owner. So if you had interest in owning this area,
yeah, I don't want to own it. I think that's a big problem, but I think collectively we should certainly. I mean, we do own this now, and we're not doing a good job.
Yeah. So this bullet on here, documentation framework, loosely kind of gets at some of the issues you were talking about. Trying to make sure that documentation is, at least at the module or subsystem level, part of feature inclusion and feature enhancement. But yeah, hopefully the framework both covers the technical framework and also the community process.
Yeah, I think I think one thing I'd really like to see us move forward on with sort of the release planning is having documentation. And I mean, we have development and we have test planning, but we currently seem to be kind of dropping the ball as far as documentation planning, saying, you know, what are the acceptance criteria for the release as far as documentation are concerned, and what do we really want to, how do we want to move the documentation forward, who's going to do it, are kind of big things that I hope we can address in the future.
So I have a comment on that one. So we have a kind of a documentation working group, right, Bob, that you're on? And,
yeah.
And it's kind of like, you know, we also have a marketing working group, and there's a whole bunch of work that is going on in the marketing working group, and that doesn't kind of show up here either. So I'm assuming that there's some number of things that are happening in the documentation working group, and that the documentation working group is going to reach out to the community and pull in other community members, and you're going to work on things that you think are important. So there's also probably some things around these development items that we want people to make visible that they're going to bring into the documentation stream. So I'm feeling like it's kind of two separate things. One is there's a set of improvements that y'all are working on in the working group, and then there's also a set of things that are coming as a result of new features. And is it, I'm assuming it's the second one that you're asking about, is what is it that's going to come in as new documentation for the new things that are happening? Is that true?
Well, kind of a little bit of both. Basically, I guess maybe something to consider is that I hope for the I planning that, you know, if, I guess the question is, you know, if how comprehensive is release planning? Is it just talking about code changes, or does it also deal with things like testing and documentation? And I think I would argue that I think it's important that it should deal with, that there should be testing and documentation planning for the release as well. And I'm not sure how that's going to happen. Currently, you know, we're all sort of doing this in our quotes spare time, unquote. So, but it's something I hope that, you know, to address your immediate thing, I'd really like to see one thing we've talked about in the documentation working group is integrating documentation as part of the code review process. That new code should not be accepted unless there is at least a minimal level of documentation for it. And I think the same idea should apply to ONOS features, that every new feature should not be accepted unless there's a plan for a minimum level of documentation.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think you're probably all in agreement there. But I think that there's kind of two levels of ownership. One is that we expect people to have ownership for providing documentation for what they do. And yeah, that doesn't always happen, but maybe we do need to provide some more guidelines or some more tools for disallowing check-ins before it's done. But that set of recommendations for what should be put in place, I see as coming out of the documentation working group. And if and again, that working group has the ability to pull from, you know, the entire community to get help, people who are interested and who care a lot about the documentation. So it would be great to have some, you know, another slide or two in here that even said, hey, here's the initiatives that the documentation working group is going to do, and maybe we can do that for next time, and maybe we ought to do it for marketing as well.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. So we'll try to, hopefully we can make that happen for next time for the I. That'd be great, actually.
Okay.
And, but as you say, every feature should come with a minimum level of documentation. That I think we're going to recommend that as something that hopefully we can get consensus on as kind of a requirement, because that's something that will enable this other documentation to be created, but without it, it's pretty impossible.
Yeah, just like unit tests, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Brian, are you done with that slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the next initiative that we're talking about is our module owner program. So we've had pretty good success with the module owner program as a mechanism for pulling in some experienced members of the community to help with the code review and the merging of patch sets into parts of the code base. And for Hummingbird, there are a number of small bug fixes and some new features that have been hashed out. The new features are in the link here that we'd like to see implemented this summer. The other thing is we'd like to continue to expand the module owner program to add new reviewers as new folks come along to the project and demonstrate their abilities, both in code and code review. For iRelease, we'd like to try to upstream this plugin to the Gerrit community so that others who use Gerrit can take advantage of it, and also so that it falls under the Gerrit maintenance. And then, always continue, as always, try to continue to expand the program as new members come to the community and prove themselves. So where we could use help is in the coding improvements. Most of the module owner plugin has been written by me. There's a few others that have looked at it, but if you have an interest in participating in the development of a Gerrit plugin, definitely let me know. And then, as always, if there are suggestions for people that should be new module owners or program improvements, feel free to reach out to myself, Thomas, or David Boswell.
Okay.
So that's that for that slide. And then my next slide is sort of a slide on being good citizens of the open source community. And we've got a number of projects that we have upstream, including Atomics, OpenFlowJ, Felix, Gerrit, Maven, Buck. So a lot of these projects we actually maintain our own forks for. We're working to, and we want to continue working towards upstreaming these fixes to other projects, both so that the upstream projects communities can benefit from them, and also so that we don't become too responsible for maintaining these fixes and forks ourselves. And our goal is to reduce the number of unnecessary ONOS-specific forks and to use upstream where possible. And so if you happen to have interest in any of the upstream projects, we certainly encourage you to try to upstream your changes, work with those projects to do that, and then when the changes are there, let us know so we can deprecate our ONOS forks.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Okay, do we have Murad online?
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Hello. What we are doing the Hummingbird, in fact, for the Loxygen, we enhanced with the OpenFlow 1.5 the upstream, Loxygen upstream. So we continue to merge the upstream Loxygen to ONOS Loxygen, which also Brian talks about. Maybe in the future we are using we may use the upstream. And we also updating the OpenFlow Soundbound interface to handle the OpenFlow 1.5 message. The aim is only to handle the message, not to handle all the new enhancements, because in the OpenFlow, I think in the next TSC meeting, we have to discuss what we have in the OpenFlow 1.5. There are lots of the enhancements. For example, we have to handle the egress port processing. We have to handle the multi-controller flow monitoring. And there is also, after the OpenFlow 1.4, there is also optical port enhancements. So we have to discuss how we merge the optical port enhancement in the ONOS and with the OpenFlow 1.5. We have to discuss with this. And the next release, in the iRelease, we have to, with these discussions, we create new intents, or we also have to update the flow rule policy with the new enhancements. That's all in this day.
Okay, next slide.
Okay. Okay, in the next slide, maybe some of you are familiar with the air rule, or in the M code. This is the run slicing or the LT wireless slicing for the M chord. So what we are doing, we just create our proprietary protocol. Now it's an open source air rule protocol to the sound parties interface, and we also merge application for the which we name the program programmable run application to the ONOS, so it can control and configure and create a slicing in the run side. This is for the M chords, and for the future, what we are trying to do, enhance the wireless area in the OpenFlow. So what is our aim? Not to use the air rule in the future. We want to use the OpenFlow with the wireless extension. That's all.
All right, very interesting. Thanks, Marat. Okay, let's see. Probably Enron is not online again. Okay, so if people want to hear about NEMO, again, you can go to the recording from this morning. Okay, and Iowa, I think I've seen you there, right?
Yes. Okay, this is Iowa. So starting from the Hummingbird release, we actually planned to contribute to ONOS the concept of AZTN, and which is used to orchestrate, control, and to manage multi-domain, multi-layer traffic engineered networks for both packet and optical networks, which includes those that are traffic engineering capable, like MPLS-TE, FSTP, and OTN and WDM networks. So AZTN itself is a ongoing and evolving IETF standards for hierarchical SDN control. And it uses IETF-defined YAM models and protocols like PSEP as standard interfaces between its functional blocks. AZTN, in the AZTN architecture, it has several building blocks. Like in the lowest level, it has a domain controller which manages each of the domains. And the next level is a multi-domain service orchestrator, also known as the supercontroller. And the domain controller connects to the supercontroller via the standard interface and abstracts the topologies and tunnels data onto the supercontroller. So to allow supercontroller to have an overview of the entire set of domains and to perform operations like service orchestration on those domains. So the key benefit that AZTN actually brings to ONOS is it can bring a practical approach to enable heterogeneous packet and optical transport network control over domains of whether it being a ONOS SDN controlled domains or non-ONOS domains or even legacy domains. It can all be connected to the same supercontroller via standard interfaces, and also via the abstraction between this multiple hierarchy of controllers. It actually addresses controller scalability when it handles large-scale packet and optical networks. So as for the proposed deliveries in the Hummingbird deliverable, we actually will focus on the topology management function. Basically, uses the set of controllers and standard interface to be able to collect and manage and display the overlay and underlay topologies between the relationship between different levels of controllers. So to do that, there will be development in the IETF YAM model, used like the base topology model and the abstract T topology model. And we intend to use it as both northbound interface and southbound interface. And also the multi-domain service coordinator that we will implement a multi-domain T topology manager in the Hummingbird release, and also a basic virtual network manager application to help define and map user requested virtual network demands and map it and write adapters to map it to the abstracted and customized T topologies exposed to by the multi-domain service coordinator. And on the interface end, also in addition to the YAM models, we'll be supporting the PSAP-based interface, PSAP using PSAP LS, which is also a IETF standard, and also support for the hierarchical PCE. And on the domain controller level, the ACTN will also, in this project, will implement a basic abstract topology management function to allow each of the domains to make an abstraction of its domain with necessary information like connectivity matrix for a blocking switch and other parameters like SRG data, which is necessary for the supercontroller or the MDSC to calculate and set up end-to-end services across those domains. So if you can switch to the to the next slide. So basically, in the upcoming I release, the concept is to add tunnel support to allow ACTN to use this hierarchical controller to set up end-to-end tunnels across multiple domains. And again, in the standard northbound and southbound interface, we will implement support for abstract T tunnels, which is also a standard draft in the IETF community, and in MDSC to implement multi-domain tunnel manager, as well as required path computation function to do tunnel provisioning, and also on the PSAP end to support PSAP virtual network instantiation extensions, and same for the domain controller to implement a abstract service mapper to accept request of connection tunnel segments from the supercontroller and push the tunnel to be provisioned across the network elements in this domain. Okay, I think that's it.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. Okay, John.
If John's not online, I can add it. So this is Yo. So for QA, in Hummingbird release, we plan to first move test job from Maven to bug build for master branch, and second, for HA test, we want to continue dynamic clustering and network position test and bug fixes. And then for show test, we want to enhance show test for running visibility. And then we would like to test basic OpenFlow TDP test suite. And then we also want to review and refactor performance tests, and also for some long overdue performance and HA bugs, we also will continue working on internal flow objective things about positioning bugs. Okay, that's Bill, next.
Say that again, Yo. I'm sorry.
Hello?
Yeah, I didn't hear you, Yo.
Oh, okay. So next slide.
Okay, got it.
Can you hear me now? Which one? You are. Okay. So can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
So for longer term goals, first we want to investigate other controller performance and benchmarking work from OpenDaylight or ON.Lab, and also we want to build test cases for security mode ONOS performance, and also for OpenFlow 1.3 plus features, and finally we will build test cases for our upcoming future testing, for example, Intent 2.0 virtualization, configuration, or drawing updates. That's it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Yo. Appreciate it. Let's see. Is Mark online again?
Mark's not here, so I'll be talking in behalf.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Okay, so first of all, initial focus will be on supporting the open roadmap device and service model. We will need to collaborate with our focuses at EMU tools to make that happen. And the second item is the required feature to the intent framework to support the entity communication deploying case, which will be sort of, when there's a failure, we will need to roll back to the original state kind of thing, and we need to start considering how to model the protected path. And this is the one, last item is the one continuation from the last, well, the coming release. We will need to continue on the refactoring the optical models. That will be it. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Yuta. I'm guessing that Costas is not on. Let's see. Okay. So you can hear what Costas had to say by listening to the recording from this morning. Probably same with Gian. Yep, same with Gian. Okay, and do we have Shrikant online? Yes. Okay, Shrikant, if you want to unmute. Shrikant, you there? I take it he's not there in the office with you guys, huh?
He's not here.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll move on then. Okay. Okay, Johnway?
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, thank you. Hello, everyone. Over the next 6 months, we will enhance network troubleshooting module and share our open exchange protocol idea, which is a kind of hierarchical east-west interfaces supporting diverse controllers and saving control bandwidth by simplifying information. The first one is the network troubleshooting module. Let's have a short introduction. We consider that in traditional network, if we want to be notified network trouble or detect them initiatively, we may achieve it with the help of some powerful but complex management protocol, such as SNMP, or some logs between devices, such as syslog. And then we may also need to deploy a huge network management platform. So our idea is that we can design some special trouble detection algorithms in the control plane and pass the information to them so that we can achieve trouble detection functionality relatively easily, while in the past we need make use of some complex methods to do that. Moreover, we can obtain more detail in the device through some southbound protocol, such as netconf and OVSDB, so as to design advanced detection functionality. Meanwhile, if we can use the southbound, we can not only detect trouble, but also remedy the trouble or isolate the trouble. I think that will enhance the automation capability of the network. In addition, we can modularize the algorithm in the control plane, make it flexible to use and convenient to upgrade. In present, we achieve simple and primary algorithms for routing, loop checking, and black hole tracing. We will go ahead to enhance the algorithms and the architecture of the module and unify the interfaces for all types of diagnosis. If there is a change, welcome community to help us improve the algorithms together. Please go on next page. Thank you. The other one is our idea of hierarchical east-west interfaces, named Open Exchange Protocol. We divide controller into two kinds, supercontroller and domain controller. The supercontroller is in charge of traffic steering among domain networks, and the domain controller aims to report network information to the super and populate the traffic policy from the super to the domain network. So network operators can gain global network view and do some high-level optimizing. In addition, we design east-west interface as a protocol so that we can support diverse controllers. Besides, this protocol can save control bandwidth by simplifying transmitting information to adapt for poor link state. In present, we have a successful experiment at our RAU controller, and we plan to develop and test it at our ONOS. In addition, we will be happy to exchange ideas with ICONA and ACTN project. That's all. Thank you.
Great.
Bill, actually, Shrikant got here just now. So maybe you can go back to that slide.
I can do that.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Just to help those who are familiar with ACORD, ACORD stands for Analytics for CORD, which is a project inside the CORD solution, and it is driven in the CORD release cycle, so R CORD and M CORD. That's why I could not map directly into the Hummingbird and I release cycles here. So ACORD is a unified monitoring platform inside CORD framework that enables real-time dynamic observability for various network elements that we have inside CORD. A quick recap of what we have done as part of phase one. We have prototyped ACORD-based platform that supports two data collection engines. One is OpenStack kilometer based, and the other one is the SFlow based data collection. As you see in the picture on the right side, the ACORD platform collects various probe data from underlying network elements. It could be either infrastructure or it could be the service DNS running on that infrastructure. In the northbound of ACORD platform, it provides two interfaces. One is the query-based interface, and the other one is the publish-subscribe-based interface to enable both predictive analytics and real-time analytics type of applications on top of this platform. So as part of our phase one, we have demonstrated the platform capabilities by showing a couple of use cases. One of them is this service-aware auto-scaling that monitors the CPU utilization of various cloud resources associated with the XOS service and do the scale up or down based on the thresholds whenever the CPU values are crossing certain thresholds. Similarly, there are some real-world examples, like we have residential card diagnostic portal and autonomic DDoS detection application. You can find more information about these use cases in the resources that I have given on the right bottom part. So I'll go on to what we are planning to do in the phase 2 of ACORD. So we wanted to refactor this architecture of ACORD so that it can be deployable inside our various card variants like residential, mobile, and enterprise card solutions. And also we wanted to build one key functionality of the ACORD, which is the adaptive instrumentation. This is the module that will enable the applications to program what level of monitoring that they want in the underlying network. So there are two parts of it. The first part is if there are already some probes existing in the network elements, the interface needs to enable applications to turn on, turn off those probes. The second part of it is if there are no probes not existing in the network elements, then this ACORD should enable applications to dynamically insert these custom probes in the traffic path. This particular feature might bring some requirements on ONOS. Again, we don't have full clarity on this module. That's why I don't have what type of requirements we need from the ONOS side. Third point is we wanted to integrate ACORD platform with other southbound network devices that we have. For example, Metronome SmartNICs, which are getting used inside MCORD, and we wanted to leverage the probe data or probes available inside those devices. Similarly, the OLT MAC chips, OpenFlow enabled OLT MAC chips also we wanted to integrate. ONOS control plane metrics that Jian is working, we wanted to integrate and make those metrics measurements available to the application. The last part is we are working on defining a use case using this ACORD platform in the MCORD solution by leveraging the probe data coming from the SmartNIC, SmartNIC. So it is like congestion detection and avoidance for the MCORD service VNS. As you can see, there are lots of things to be done in the phase 2, and we seek the community help in all fronts. Yeah, that's all.
Great. Thanks a lot, Srikanth. All right. Sang-Ho.
I think for my slide, for Sona, the basic virtual network functionality is done so far, and now we are focusing on making the service more scalable and usable. For Hummingbird release, we are going to finish up implementing scalable gateway application, which manages a group of multiple gateways and provides hash-based load balancing of the gateways. The gateway can be dynamically added or removed during the service running. And actually, this application is nearly done in the GoldenEye, and we are now working on integrating to existing Sona L3 module. Sona gateway node plays a very important role for the external connectivity, but the problem is it can't be scaled out. So our plan is to overcome this limitation with a scalable gateway application. For the last one, we are working on making use of vRouter application to talk to external router. The deliverable for this item would be just a how-to experience of setting up vRouter with Sona with OBS and support multipath with it. And for the release deliverable, since this scalable gateway application is the last piece of Sona, so we are trying to make Sona more stable and easily deployable. That's it for me.
Thanks, Insun. Okay, I think that's it. Was there anybody that had some slides that didn't get an opportunity to talk to them? Okay. If not, that's the end of the meeting. Thank you, everybody, for participating, and special thanks to the people who did 2 rounds of presentations today. Really appreciate it. Okay. Yep. See you all later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yep.
Bye-bye.